I want to thank everyone for coming today for our first Town Square Boynton Beach public meeting. We appreciate you being here. First order of business today, aside from welcoming you, I'd like to introduce your mayor, Mayor Stephen B. Grant, and he's going to have a few words and introduce some of your fine city employees.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again for coming here. This is extremely exciting. We are starting off our public input for our town square. We have two more meetings, each on Thursday, the 17th and 24th at 5:30 to 7:30. Tonight's meeting, as you know, is the playground, which we're very excited to match up with our Children's Schoolhouse Museum. I'd like to introduce our Vice Mayor, Justin Katz, Assistant City Manager, Tim Howard, Parks and Recs Department, Wally Majors, Director of Public Works and Engineering, Jeff Livergood, our Communications Manager, Eleanor Crissell, our City Attorney, Jim Cheroff, our Acting Director of Utilities, Joe Patroniti, our new Sustainability Officer, Rebecca Harvey, our Director of Library, Craig Clark, and Mark Heffron from E2L. And that is it. So everybody who has not been called, thank you again for coming here. We look forward to your input because those people I've called can't really have an input. So we can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Great. Thank you so much. As he said, we have Mark Heffron here. He is the president of E2L and our project manager. I'd also like to introduce Baker Barrios. They will be speaking and presenting today. This is Wayne Dunkelberger, Beth Bartlett, and Grace Harrison. I'm also here with my co-worker, Sharon Merchant, the president of the Merchant Strategy, Sophia Nelson, and Grady Ross, both public information specialists. As I said, we're very happy you're here. We want your input. That's very important to us. We'll have plenty of time for question and answers. We will try to limit the questions to 2 or 3 minutes, and then we also have some comment sheets if you don't want to speak out loud and you want to leave your comments, and everyone will be here afterwards, so if you'd like to talk to some people one-on-one, then we'll have plenty of time to do that as well. At this time, I'd like to have Grace come up.
Hi, can you hear me in the back? Usually people tell me to be quiet, so I'm not comfortable with the microphone. We are very honored to be here today, and we are looking forward to getting the information from the community. We're excited about all the passion and the history that you'll have here at Boynton Beach, and we'll shepherd that input and that vision into design development. So just to talk a little bit about who we are and why we get to be here, and it is such an honor, and I do want to make you feel welcome. And I was joking with some people ahead of time about heckling. If you're going to heckle, flag down Wayne and get a microphone so we can hear a good one. We want your input throughout the night. But I'm a landscape architect with 30 years of experience, and I started when I was 5 years old, if you're doing the math with that. And I have an emphasis on public involvement, so public hearings, formal hearings for the Department of Transportation, down to one-on-ones with people. So I like input. I like to hear what you have to say. And we also have, I'll let you talk about yourself, our director, our creative director at Baker Barrios, Wayne Dunkelberger.
Yes, good evening. Welcome, everyone. I am the Director of Design for Baker Barrios Architects. I'm also part of the team working on the overall master plan strategy and playgrounds and architecture. And also we have Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Bartlett. I have a degree in landscape architecture. I'm with Baker Barrios, and I've been working on this project in the master planning and all the landscape architecture.
So our professions prepare us to evaluate existing facilities and facilitate design and ideas going from a vision to reality. So let's go to the site. As many of you probably know, this area in blue is where the existing park is. And if we go to the next slide, we're planning to put it in about the exact same location. And we've also been asked to talk about Kapok Park briefly, just some ideas as we get into the brainstorming park about what you might want to see there. So the goals of this meeting, if I didn't make it clear before, we are just talking about the playground tonight, and we want to understand the history of that existing playground. We've heard a lot from city staff, but the community, that's why you're here tonight, to let us know. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into that, and we really value a community that gets behind the development and knows all the pluses of innovating and bringing things up to like a new cutting edge, a new standard, or whatever reflects the fabric of your community. So we'll discuss some trends and some research on playground design, and we'll gather information on what you need and want. So, to talk a little bit about the history, we would like to ask Jeff Livergood, Public Works Director, to come on up and give us a brief understanding.
Thank you very much, Grace. It's nice to be here this evening because I know a lot of people here. And so it's just going to make this a lot easier. We're here tonight to talk about how we're going to replace Kids Kingdom Playground. This is part of a much larger scale project that's going to be looking at an entire town square area. There will be other opportunities to talk about the architectural elements, as the mayor referenced, and other opportunities to talk about the open space. In one of the slides they'll show you had a number of open spaces. We need to decide how we want that to be as a city and how we want our residents to use that space. The entire project is part of a much larger site plan that is not for discussion tonight. The site planning process must follow the normal practices in the city, which means it will go through the Planning and Development Board and will go through the City Commission. So the opportunities to comment on the overall site plan and the buildings and where they're located will be available to you at other times. So please stay engaged so that you can be part of those processes as well. So tonight's focus is on the Kids Kingdom Playground. Those in the community know that it was built by a volunteer effort. Leathers Associates, a company out of New York, facilitated that process. I know one person that has a name on a picket. How many of you participated in that process when Kids Kingdom was built originally? 1, 2, 3, awesome. 4, 5. I was not here when that happened. I arrived, started my employment just a few years after, and I understand it was a great process. You can still look at the names as you enter the Kids Kingdom Park and take pride in it, and you can look at the effort that was put into it. It was obviously a lot of love and a lot of sweat that went into that facility. That facility was designed in the mid-1990s. It was designed to those standards. Those standards don't exist today. And Baker Barrios is going to be telling you that and looking at different design ideas. As Public Works Director, I've been responsible for maintenance of the facility, and I've stopped waking up in nightmares lately as it relates to maintaining Kids Kingdom, because I see light at the end of the tunnel to replace it. If any of you have been through Kids Kingdom lately, you see that elements are missing. We've performed maintenance throughout the years, trying to maintain it. It's reached its end of life. And when you consider that a 20-year life for a playground, that's a long time. And so anything that we decide to construct now, keep that in mind. This is any playgrounds that we build now will not be here 40 years from now. We will be going through a process again in 15 or 20 years to replace this next version or this iteration. The existing playground was made from some of the first, Kids Kingdom was made some of the first generation woods, plastic woods if you want, recycled timbers. They worked well. Today's modern use of those materials is certainly a lot better than it was 20 years ago. We have structural concerns with the existing facility. Everybody recognize this element? Right here is a ship. Parents hate it. Can anybody have any idea why parents don't like it? Can't see your children. So that's a new element that we're working into the playground design so that we can make sure that parents feel comfortable leaving their children or so that they can see them. I know as a parent when my little one was young, about 50 years ago, you always wanted to know where your child was. And so that's part of the design process. So that's some of the discussion that you'll see today. I'm looking forward to removing this facility. We've been planning several years now to replace it, as Beth said, or as Grace said. So we have that opportunity. So I'm anxious to hear what all of you see as your vision for it. When you're looking at your vision, think of the use. The use will be people that are going to be moving into these new complexes these new buildings, these new residential properties. Uses are going to continue to support the Children's Museum. The playground will support new uses that will go into a renovated high school. So we've got a lot of people that we want to have fun and enjoy their time. And as Public Works Director, I will be glad when this is gone. Thank you.
Well, we will be excited about setting some parameters and possibly reusing some of the memorial pieces because it is such a great building block. It's a great, what's the word I'm looking for? Not memorial, but a statement of your community passion. We really think that's something that not every community gets to have, and the history of that should be commemorated, and parts of it hopefully would make sense to bring into the future. We do want to brainstorm and we want to have blue sky vision, but these guys like to tell me to loosen up. I'm not very flexible, I'm very rigid, and I like to follow the rules. So it has to be safe or we're not going to have a good design. We're going to have lessons learned from the old parks 20-some years ago, what we thought was great in design, not so much. We want to keep safety in the forefront, so visitability, like Jeff mentioned, and SEPTED is crime prevention through environmental design, so kind of separating spaces, and again, a lot of it's common sense, and we'll make sure that the designers follow these ASTM and the CPS. So also looking to Public Works and making sure the park continues to be a place that people want to revisit, so it needs to be easily maintained, so it looks great and is easy to replace parts, durable, again, ease of maintenance. You don't want it to be hot materials, you don't want the rain to make it unusable, and accessible to all, so ADA compliant in that. So that is our framework, and now the more exciting part, and to get your juices flowing. So if there's an image that you see, or if you have in mind what you want that park to be, raise your hand or shout out, and we're going to have Beth start to talk about what is play and why it's important to us.
So what is play, and why do we build places for children to play? Because play is a very important part of children's development. It's linked to their cognitive development, their social development, and their physical development. And just the definition of play is voluntary, it's pleasurable, it's non-literal, it's make-believe, and it's actively engaging. So you want it to be a place where kids want to be and have fun. There are 3 types of play. So the first type is social play. And this is where kids learn to interact with people, and they learn to be adults, and they learn to be a functional member of society. And this is kind of the first place that kids play with people outside of their family. They have to learn to negotiate and take turns and develop perspective of other people that aren't their immediate family. And this is peer-to-peer play. The second type is pretend play. And this is the first type of play that maybe you'll see. And it starts as early as 12 months. And it's where kids learn that, or they pretend that something is something else, or a person is something else. You know, the slide is a waterfall, and I'm a boat. And this is how kids learn language skills and self-regulation. And they also have creativity and social understanding, so they can test out theories. You know, what if I am a dog? What would I do? Or what if this person was a fireman? What would he do? And it's how they test theories and they learn. And the next is physical play, and maybe that's the first thing you think about and why it's important, because we want kids to be active and we don't want kids to sit around all the time. The CDC recommends that kids get 60 minutes of play a day, and it supports their gross motor development, and it helps them to be healthy. And the uptick in play is directly correlated to bone development and muscle development. So why is play threatened, and why is it important that we create spaces for kids to play? Well, there's an uptick in passive entertainment. Kids are on cell phones, they're watching TV, they're on computers. There's also increased academic pressure. Everyone wants their kid to succeed. You know, some schools are even limiting recess time. There's also, kids are overscheduled. You know, organized sports are great. We get that physical play, but you might not get the, you know, social play or the pretend play where they develop imagination and just be kids and just have fun. And there's also lack of safe places for kids to play. And that's what we can do with this playground. And we create a place that's safe for kids to play.
All right. So now we know why we need play. And hopefully we've identified some needs and things that you've been thinking about for this space as well. And for discussion purposes, we do want to know what you like or what your vision, is and what it could look like. So if there's some imagery as we talk, feel free to wait, give me the high sign or something, and we'll make a note and we'll document to try to get a sense of your thought process or what you might want to see there that reflects the fabric of the community. And we'll show you images in 3 different categories: a traditional, a modern, and a colorful. And we think this traditional one is a great choice too of materials, the recycled lumber. You can make the castles and it kind of reflects similarly to what you have in that place. I don't see any high signs yet. We can keep going with the images. I know sometimes it's hard to talk out or you want to look at everything first. We think some of the pros on this one, custom pieces and a natural feel. You can be a princess, you can climb. And there are ways of creating it. We call ours, I saw when you said that, I can't see my kid. We have one near my house, and we call it Heart Attack Park. So you just drop to your knees, to look for your kid's feet under everything. So we don't want to do that. But it's easy to do it with this so that you can see through and everything's visible. Did you want to add something? Okay. Have you ever had a heart attack at one of those parks looking for kids? You'd be more graceful than I'm sure, dropping to the ground. And the second category is the colorful modular pieces, easily maintainable. We can make something custom, but it's kind of a plug and play if pieces need repair. And that one is very popular too. It can be themed. They can all be themed, but this one is easy, identify in your mind about modular play and slides. I don't think they get as hot. That's always important too, to think about the heat in Florida and if pieces maintain that. Was that a yay for that one? No? Oh, you didn't care for that one? Okay, good. And a third category for maybe modern, the ropes, and of course fall zones will be considered once we get to detailed design. But kids do enjoy climbing and getting a different view from different levels. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment on a pro or a con of any of those? Yes. Do you want Wayne to come over? I believe for the record you have to state your name and your address. Is that right, Laura?
Yeah, they know me. Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way.
Thank you.
Do you want me to just stick with this part or with everything I've come across up to this point?
I think it's up to you. We want to stay focused on the playground. Okay, and she suggested a 2-minute time limit for each speaker, and of course we'll be here after too.
Oh yeah. Okay, first thing, is Kapok Park the actual name, or is that just what you assigned it to the planning stage?
I believe we're just assigning it as a placeholder at this time.
Okay. I would have thought of, Kids Kingdom Park or the castle or something.
Oh, and I'm sorry, if we went back to that, I think we referred to the blue area for the playground we're talking, and then the other one will just hit briefly at the end, will be addressed in 2 weeks.
The Kapok Park is the area west of the high school with the large kapok tree that's being preserved as a park. It's separate from the playground.
Thanks. I did not make that clear.
Well,
Thank you.
I don't know. Maybe I just didn't see the name up there on the screen. Okay. I think most of the people I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, 5 of you that know me, we want to keep the castle in some format, whether it's the current one, and adapt it and make some changes to the current castle. I think everyone recognizes that the ship is decaying in port and it needs to be sunk, or maybe some small little memorial to it, like a smaller ship or something like that. But, the castle seems to be the thing that most people seem to want.
Can you define the castle a little bit? Can we go back to
the part that looks like a castle as opposed to the part that looks like
to me, all,
walkways and a boat.
The moat and the entrances is all part of the castle. Do you mean more the vertical elements?
Yeah, with the turrets on top.
Architecturally, do you call it a spire, Wayne?
I'm going back to the pictures, sorry.
Yeah.
So
the red part that looks like a castle.
Oh, the painted pieces?
Yeah, that's the castle.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, I assume there's some kind of combination between wood or a modern, MDF or something, or the modular plastic, or a combination of all that would make it the lifespan as long as possible, but yet keep the cool aspect of it, because this is South Florida where, you know, it's ungodly hot 10 months out of the year. My next thing is the boat area. I mean, I've gone over there and played with my niece and nephews before, and yeah, no part of it. I think we were living in a different world 20 years ago when this was built. We are in a different world, so we do need to do something about that. But maybe a little small boat that's more open would be appropriate to put there. Personally, I'd like to see, you know, a fountain go in there, a splash fountain like they have up at Clematis, with some kind of whimsical piece of art, whether it's next to or in the middle of the splash fountain, you know, where you can have some lighting at night, because I think we need to consider night and possibly solar LEDs. Or we need to have something for the daytime to cool everybody off. And it is a great destination piece. You know, kids just show up and run and jump in the water, and I think that makes everyone happy. And everyone I know wants to see some type of water feature there. Reminder to use the warm LED lights at night, because the new American Medical Association study came out that I've been passing around amongst the city, that you don't use cool white lights on anything anymore. You use warm white lights, because the cool white messes up your circadian sleep rhythms. Yeah, well, only I think of this.
We're glad. We appreciate that.
And then we need to have something around the perimeter for the parents, you know, some kind of benches, single use, you know, whether they're single little seats or something with little spots in between, so we don't have the homeless sleeping there. But we also were thinking maybe something that would give the parents a chance to exercise some. You know, like when you go to John Prince Park and there's, you know, movement stations. Not a lot, but something that would allow you to keep an eye on your kid but still get some kind of exercise and movement yourself.
It's a great idea.
So it's, you know, for adults as well as kids. And anything we're doing in there, I would suggest a more whimsical element. It doesn't have to, you know, just to inspire the creativity of the children. And I'm sure at this point I'm over my 2 minutes. But
it's all good
that's where I'm at
information.
so
and we
far.
Good to
appreciate
get us
that.
started. Thank you.
I do love the idea, because parents are always there, and I think having it accessible to all is one thing, but I think having different interests so that you want to return again and again, and the parents do as well. All right.
You're going to eat for the recording? I'm sorry. Okay. I'm one of the 5 people that Jeff pointed out. I was there with Mike. I am to serve on the commission back in '93. I have my original notes from that meeting that I presented to raise $25,000 from the city to start this playground as seed money. And these, and I was showing them to Mike. He goes, "God, you keep everything." Well, not everything, but of all the designs that you've shown, the only one that comes close to, and this is very important to me because of having raised money and gotten people to buy pickets and other things, this is the only design that shows any possibility of being able to keep the integrity of the pickets as an entryway and surrounding the park. And you know, I don't have all that much power, but I'll go to the mat to make sure those pickets stay, or somehow stay and keep as an entrance into the park, as well as that the monument sign that tells about the people who contributed and stuff like that.
I mean, absolutely. I saw
And
that
you're more
on
than
it.
welcome to get a glass enclosed case if you want to put this by
Yes.
the playground.
We call that vintage. I keep hearing that.
Yes, it is vintage. That's before we could print it out on a computer or anything like that.
And
But you
did
need
you-
to have a design that, in my humble opinion, that keeps the integrity of what it kind of looks like now, not these, you know, other designs that were more further over on the slide, and have where the pickets are there and saved or redone, but they have to remain, because those are people that bought and paid money to have those there and have their names there. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Did you get the name and address, or you're all good with that? We could slip into the last slides too, where we show some of the reuse ideas. We another topic, of course, is to memorialize, and we can go there, or just keep the comments, but that's exactly what we wanted to know, what pieces should be memorialized and remained, and there's all kinds of ways to do it. So we have some other slides as well, so appreciate that.
Hi, I'm Jenny Foote. My comments are about safety. We've taken young great-nieces and nephews over, and a lot of times there are much older kids playing there, so that the parents don't feel comfortable with the younger ones being on the equipment and everything. I don't know how you work with that if you provide something for the 18-year-olds as well as the 8-year-olds. But when they're all in the same area, a lot of times parents are not comfortable because the older kids can be far too rough. Thank you.
So I agree with that, and thank you. And there are ways to lay that out in design and try to have an interesting area for the older kids from the younger ones. Yes. Can I call you Vanna White? Is that fair? I can't. Okay.
Alan Hendricks, 122 Southeast 4th Avenue. Just some conceptual comments that I want to get off my chest.
Perfect.
There is a place called Delray Beach Children's Garden, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's an education element to it, and it's about growing food and wildflowers, and I helped design it, but the people in Delray did the job. So I don't know if we can incorporate that in either one of these parks, but it's really a cool concept. It's a playground, but it's also a garden, if you will. Shade sails might be a potential. And if we have a boat, that we might be able to work with that. Another one that just kind of popped into my head is, what does this look like at night? We were talking about lighting. I think that your creative minds could come up with something that makes this attractive at night, since it's going to be right in the center of our town square. And I thought some of my comments from my friend Susan were great.
Only some.
Well, some that I hadn't thought of, like exercise for the parents. What do the parents do while they're sitting there? I think that's pretty brilliant. And the Delray Garden that I mentioned, they bring in art and they bring in music, healing plants, and how do you? I'm not sure how far down you want to go with that, but it might be a cool element to put in there.
I know we're getting notes for the record, and I won't be able to summarize. And Wayne is too. Oh, you're the best. Okay, because I thought, how am I going to summarize all that? But I do want to reiterate, I love that idea. I know a lot of restaurants are also having the herb garden outside to kind of promote healthy eating, and then you'll bring the herbs from the inside. And of course, as landscape architects, we like to educate about plant material, and that's a wonderful idea, and the butterfly gardens and all that too. So excellent. I like the educational piece on that too. Are there some more comments? Yeah, please.
Jim Knight, 740 Havana Drive. I live in Boca, but have some properties here in Boynton. And I think it's real important to grab some of the kids off the playground and interview them. And that's one thing I think that's missing here today, is get some input from the kids that are, the ones that are out there going to be utilizing it and so forth. So that would just be my only comment, is to get some input from some of the kids.
That's a great idea, and we heard from city staff too that they'll bus them in. That the playground is really used quite a bit, destination for day camps and other things like that too. So we know it's a big draw as it is and as it should be, and we're so appreciative of the folks that put their heart and soul into the first park, and now we can continue on in that tradition. Are there some other comments on what we have so far? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Barbara Reedy, 329 Southwest 13th Avenue here in Boynton. Susan and I kind of brainstormed about this together. I think that there's opportunities for playground equipment that could serve a dual purpose as public art, as well as the splash pad. There's public art features that could be implemented in the splash pad. As far as the grounding, whatever the surface is, that could be an art feature. The things spouting water could be art features. So there's all kinds of opportunities to inject public art into the playground and still save the castle that they labored over so laboriously. And the other thing I would like to, I have grandkids and a couple of daughter-in-laws, and they provided some input as far as safety. The fence is not tall enough, it needs to be taller so no one could hop over it and snatch a kid and be gone before you knew it. As far as the pickets, those can be saved and, attached to the taller fence. So I don't think that would be a concern. One of their other concerns is the ground cover in the actual playground. They don't like the mulch. They want the, solid surface that's squishy when you fall on it. Kind of like J.C. Park, I guess. The adult feature, the lighting, we could light the fountains, so that it's lit up at night. I think there's a lot. If we run out of money for the playground, we can use tires. There's all kinds of ideas for utilizing and recycling tires as playground equipment as well. So that's my 2 cents.
I think those are great ideas, and I meant to comment on the shade structure. I know, especially outside schools, sometimes a local hospital or there'll be another agency that wants that shade just because of skin cancer and all that. So that's a great thing besides, of course, trees and everything. So, yes.
My bad, I forgot one more thing. For a community involvement project to get the community to buy in, like in a mosaic, Susan mentioned benches. We gave some great thought to the bench part of the thing for, moms and dads to sit in and watch the kids in the playgrounds and the splash pad. Could be mosaic. We could seek donations from the community of China that could be broken up and utilized, and turn that into an art feature and have the benches become, a beautiful contribution to the playground. But they'd have to be like formed so that we didn't encourage people to sleep there. That's another large concern.
It's easy to put the middle bar or to have the one so that you just sit and you don't recline in that. And I do love that idea too of bringing people in or even having children do their handprints, that kind of thing, and incorporating tiles on either your vertical or your horizontal surfaces. So that's a wonderful idea. Thank you for your input. Yes.
Hi, Rod Silverio, 10 Bel Air Drive. I have to ask the question, are there safe and secure restroom facilities incorporated into the plan?
I know that we're talking about having restrooms nearby, and again, we're at the visioning stage, so I'll mark that down as something that's desired and needed in the area, correct? Okay.
Deb Myers, 115 South Seacrest. I play there a lot with my grandkids, so the only thing I would add, because I agree with a lot of what's already been said, is we just, right now, it's not fully closed off, so the children can leave the area a variety of different ways without any fencing, so that needs to be looked at. And I like the traditional a lot. I think this is really nice and similar in look to what we have already. So
Good, I appreciate that. I keep trying to get my daughter to be okay with chipping her head so I could track her on the GPS, but no luck yet on that. So see, there are no dumb things to say if anybody wants to add anything more. We really do appreciate, Wayne's right on it, faster than me.
My name's Justin Katz. I think that going along with what Barbara said a couple minutes ago, with trying to infuse public art into this, I think that, at least my personal opinion, and from what I've heard and what I could gather from people's vision of what the downtown or what Boynton Beach is, I think that there has to be an effort to infuse some sort of aquatic or nautical type theme somehow. I know it's a castle, so maybe doesn't seem so easy to meld together, but we talk about being this fishing village or the history of the town, but today there's not much that kind of harkens back to being an aquatic or the gateway to the Gulf Stream and being in close proximity to the ocean. If we're trying to kind of market ourselves as this fishing / coastal area, I think there needs to be effort in a lot of what we're doing in Town Square to putting elements of whether it's fish or nautical or aquatic, this or that. So I don't know how you could infuse it into here. Obviously, there's the boat, so some sort of recreation of the boat fits well into that. But I think that you could again, as was pointed out, this is a playground. It's for kids. This is a room full of adults. You got to kind of get weird in the way you're thinking and come up with some ideas that, if you were a kid or when you were a kid, what was cool or what was fun. So I think that there's opportunity in infusing that coastal village, fishing village vibe into some elements of this, whether that's just, taking those horses that go back and forth and making it a seahorse or something simple enough like that. But I think it'd be important, whether it's through colors or imagery or art or the playground pieces themselves, to try to make this a part of the theme that a lot of people feel Boynton Beach, in particular East Boynton Beach, has. But if you really look around, there's not that much kind of coastal or aquatic references beyond the marina and our proximity to the ocean. So that's kind of my thought, and based on people's kind of constant refrain that we're a coastal village, I think there's got to be some coastal or aquatic elements to town square in general. And I think that buildings, it's limited how creative you could get, but a playground, it's creative or as weird as you want it to be. So
Absolutely, to get in the mind of the user, and I think that's a really good point, that the kids are the users here, so I appreciate that. We all do. In the back?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Nicole Scott, Northeast 6th Avenue, right down the street here. My kids absolutely love the Castle Park. Unfortunately, we don't go. I can't find them. And so I love everyone's ideas. Forgive me, I did come in a little bit late. So if I'm going to repeat something that's already been said, I apologize. But I do want to say that I love the idea of the Castle Park. It's just that we prefer Barrier Reef, where I prefer it, because I could find all my kids at one time. So maybe we can make a suggestion. I love your ideas, Mr. Katz, about the nautical theme, because the kids love the water. It ties into the city's theme. But if we can maybe lower some things so that parents and grandparents and relatives that are there with their kids, they can find them easily. So that's my take on that. But Barbara, I love the idea with art, because I have two boys. I have 4 children, but my all of them are actually artistic. But there's 2 boys that just love to draw, and if they knew that they can add their art pieces to a community project, that would blow their minds. So they'll be like my little Picassos. So if we could get that integrated, that would be marvelous, and I'm sure that'll be a blessing to a lot of other kids and families as well.
Well, good. It is a good way to make the community response there, and again, that little touch of history throughout. Yes, back row.
Hi, Mike Simon, 714 Hillcrest Road. Mr. Katz kind of took a little bit of what I was thinking sitting here, and we were talking about the older kids and incorporating some of the ideas of the nautical. There's a lot of surf past, and there's a lot of kids that are in the area skateboarding and what have you, and there's some really great examples throughout the country of incorporating kind of passive skateboard elements that are also smooth for all kinds of little wheeled mobility pieces, that could be used to get them off of other things that we don't want them on, but also incorporate some of that activity around for kind of that dual age purpose, and it would certainly pull in some of that ocean and aquatic. Just another thought. A lot of good things being said. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's excellent when you can take multiple ages, and we want to have a park just like you do. We enjoy the idea of having it accessible for all, entertaining for all, and that repeat wow factor too, so that everyone's excited about using it. Please.
Hi, Alicia Shattuck, 57 Egret Way. I'm a little late, so I'm going to apologize just like the other mom in case I repeat anything. I'm going to go 100% with the first thing she said. As a parent, I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. We just actually moved here from Boca. We stopped going to some of the parks in Boca that were that shape because we couldn't find our little ones, or we were hitting our heads actually running after the small children. So I just if we're going to go with that route, I just please make it something where we can find our children and see them.
Were you here for when I dropped to the floor and acted out looking for my kid?
I wasn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was
a
delayed
highlight.
at work.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear yes, there's a common understanding. Also, if this hasn't already put out, we love the Red Park, what we call the Red Park across from the Schoolhouse Museum, largely because of the beautiful trees and all the natural shade and the breeze that comes through there. So I really, again, as a parent, would hope that we have lots of natural shade, not only to keep us and our kids cool, but trees for the kids to climb and enjoy. My 8-year-old also sent me here with a list of things that she wants in the playground because she couldn't
Wayne,
come.
are you ready to type all that? Okay, good. And you can summarize
So
too.
she was requesting swings, slides, rock climbing, water to keep her cool, and a nice big open green field. My 4-year-old recommended rocket ships, but I know we can't have everything. So
That's great.
Superhero phase, maybe. Good. Are there some more? These are all really good ideas. And
Yeah, I have two.
oh,
that I
Beth,
can
go
read.
ahead.
Well, you go ahead first. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Candy Brueggemann, 713 Southeast 4th Street, and I've enjoyed the existing park when my daughter was younger after going to the Children's Museum. I think it's a great location, and that the park, the playground where it is now is a great location to go with the Children's Museum. So it'd be great if the existing park was restored somehow, and that looks beautiful. But I don't know if it's going to be moved. And I apologize as well for being late. But and a neat splash park would be great too. I've seen that in Palm Springs, and looks like a great little thing for the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read these two comments that were written for the record. To whom it may concern, I am a mother of 2, and I consider myself an on-the-ground expert in Palm Beach County parks and playgrounds. I want to be able to stay for the duration of this forum, but I would like to leave you with some of my thoughts and do's and don'ts. Do's: install picnic tables that are child-size and close to the ground. Keep as many shade trees as possible and supplement with canopies. Keep it fenced with a gate that closes. Install plenty of swings, lots of swings, all of the swings, and in the shade. Landscape to attract squirrels, caterpillars, and kid-fascinating critters. Ladders and monkey bars are favorite. Water is always a plus. Don't use AstroTurf. It gets too hot. Thank you, Ann Maclock. And then I have another one. Style, material preference, traditional wood and ropes, both. Modular plastic gets very hot. Oh, that's the same person, Ann Maclock. Okay.
Okay, I know I can't. Oh, yeah. Oh, good.
Good evening, everyone. Rick Maharaj, 1627 Satona Drive. Couple of things. Actually, 3 really solid bullet points. One, echoing Vice Mayor's thoughts, the whole nautical theme. I'd love to see a fusion, kind of like that Disney castle with some water and splash park, those kinds of things. Tons of really cool LED lights all over the place. How does this thing light up at night? Secondly, what are we doing to address children with special needs? And finally, I'd love to see a lunch and learn where we bring in the young kids of the community and let's hear what they have to say. Parks are a little different. When I was a kid, when wheels were still square, right? Let's bring these kids in and bring in some food and see what they have to say. Just my thoughts.
Thank you.
Those are great ideas. Yes. One more in the front.
First of all, the boat. The reason it's so big is because in 1992 I went down to Miami where they had for Christopher Columbus 500th anniversary, they had the Nina, the Maria, and the Santa Maria or whatever they are, Pinta. And that was the size of the Nina. That was Christopher Columbus's favorite boat. So those are the length and width. And I think there was like 45 guys packed onto it, and that was kind of it was supposedly going to be educational. Now, keep saying the playground is good for 20 years, and generally that's correct, but the castle portion of the playground was designed to last 100 years. And if you look at it, there's no rust stains running down it from burned steel or anything. Some of it is deteriorating. I understand about the first generation Trex, but the castle is not deteriorating, and the idea was that that would stay, and the castle would be, the rest of the playground could be built 3 or 4 or 5 times around it. So I'm still interested in saving the castle. A lot of people grew up with that now. There are 2 sections to Kids Kingdom for older and younger kids. Maybe that needs to be, I could see where that could be redesigned so that it would be better separation. And the trees, those are all transplanted there as mature trees to provide the shade, and I'd like to see that they're still saved.
Excellent, excellent. That's what we're hoping to get. I appreciate that. We all do. Our team does. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christina Romulus. I am the commissioner for this district. What I'd really like to see for Kids Kingdom is actually a maintaining of that actual structure. And again, refurbishing it or fixing it up, making sure that we get some more aeration or openness to it, as some of the moms have commented here, so that way we can see our kids. I do have 2 kids, so I understand the struggle. But really, I love the originality of that structure, and I'll actually use a real-life example of what can go wrong. And in Delray Beach, if any of you have had a chance to see what the Veterans Park used to look like, it resembles a lot what we have here at Kids Kingdom. It used to resemble, at least, what we have here at Kids Kingdom. It was beautiful, it was original, it was just breathtaking. And I remember being a kid and playing hide and go seek in that park in Delray. And then about a few months ago, or I think at least a year ago, they changed around. It became just blue plastic. That's all I can call it. It was very disappointing and disheartening when that change happened, and that's what I don't want to see here happen at Kids Kingdom. I'd love to see the originality maintained. I'd love to see the work that our residents that put in stay, and that way the future can appreciate what the past was able to do, but also, of course, creating some of the changes that can help put moms at ease. That way we can see our kids and also keep the cleanliness and all the different things. And I love, I believe it was Barbara that mentioned the fact that I would like to see the spongy ground also instead of the mulch.
Soft deck.
Yeah, it's easier for the kids and keeps things cleaner too. All right, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a lesson learned about mulch. That was supposed to be all the rage and the right thing to do, as long as you put the edges. But as soon as you swing through and kick it with your feet, you're not meeting the depth that they require for our safety. So we like that idea as well. Yes.
Hi, is this the same builder that built the park in Wellington? Leathers Park? Leathers?
Which builder?
Wellington, the Village of Wellington. Because I think it is.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. I'm sorry.
I
I know
think Tiger
Leathers,
Shark
and I know
Cove
they were a
Park.
consultant earlier, but we're Baker Barrios. Is that what you're asking?
No, I was asking about Tiger
This is
Shark
a modern
Cove
Leathers
Park.
playground.
It looks like
This is a modern Leathers playground.
Okay. So I don't know if Wellington has upgraded its Tiger Shark Cove Park recently. I think they did.
Okay. I don't know that park myself. Does anyone else know that Tiger Shark Park is the
No,
name?
Tiger Shark Cove Park.
Okay.
Tiger
Shark Cove
Park.
Got it. Tiger Shark Cove Park. I'm not
All right,
familiar
thank
with that one, but it's recently been renovated.
I think so. Like
Okay. Is it
2012.
one that you're interested in?
No, it's built by Leathers.
Oh,
It's the
I
same
gotcha.
people.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
And is that a plus or one that doesn't reflect the character of the community that we're talking about? Because I'll look it up when we get back and see. Thank you. Yes, in the back.
Hello. I would like to know if we can have like a park with where the wheelchairs can are accessible for like a sand play and sensory play. There's always a thing where we can't get our knees into things so that we can actually play with the like water play or sensory play or sand play. So I don't know if we can do something like that where it can be a little bit higher, not
Ye-
just for toddlers.
Absolutely. Our goal is to have it accessible to everyone. I was just at the beach the other day and they had one of the chairs that has the bigger wheels to go on sand. So that's a great idea. We absolutely want everyone to be able to enjoy it. Thank you for the comment. Yes. Of course. Me too.
Me at the commission meetings. Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. I don't want to overlook what the vice mayor said about maintaining our nautical theme, and I think there is a way to incorporate it in with the castle idea that most of the rest of us seem to be saying we want to keep, is why not have some kind of because I keep pushing the whimsical, why not do like whimsical ocean animals but dressed as knights or kings or something, like a seahorse king or a shark king or something. So we're tying in his elements, which he's right to acknowledge that. We are the city closest to the Gulf Stream in North America, so we do need to play up our ocean theme and our ocean heritage, but yet tie the whimsical in with what everyone's saying they want to keep and what Mike has said, since he's the one who helped build this bad boy, that it's going to be there another 80 years if we let it. So why not incorporate both into one and maybe do more of a castle by the ocean, incorporate some kind of, architectural elements that make you think the ocean or think, the seaside, but on our castle. Maybe even if it's just colors, the blue and green for the ocean, because I'm always the proponent of why are we not doing everything in blue and green, since we sit right next to the ocean and beaches in our name, and this is on Ocean Avenue. So that might, check more boxes off here.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love those ideas.
Maybe a sand castle. Okay.
Yes.
Hey there. She had a great idea about maybe sand castles, right? And then with what did I just say? I'm sorry, I forgot. City of Atlantis. That would tie it in really well if we did that. I want to piggyback what this mom said back here about just having things be accessible. One thing I love about the Castle Park, though we haven't been there in a little while, is that there is a section towards the west side of it that seems that's for toddlers, whereas the larger part of it is more for the older kids, maybe the 8-year-olds or something like that. So I'm thinking that maybe with the adjustments or the refining of it, we can also make sure that different parts of the playground is for certain children, especially the younger children, and like incorporating the ramps and the sensory bins and things like that. That'd be great.
Good. All great ideas. Yeah, there's so many ways to mimic the ocean and the water, whether it's actual water or bubbles or an image or a sound. Yes.
Hi, Barbara Reedy, 329 Southwest 13th Avenue again. I also would like to address the elephant in the room and say that I would like to save that green space. We already have a bathroom right there. We don't have to do the bathroom over again. We've already spent city money on a perfectly good small amphitheater. If we need to make the playground larger, we can expand into that green space and maybe do the splash pad there where it would be more visible. And as far as the theme, we do have something called Pirate Fest every year. And Pirate Fest could be easily implemented into the whole water castle kind of a thing. So, save the green space.
I love that idea, Pirate Fest.
Mr. Markey would like to see the plan, please.
Oh, okay.
It's back.
This one? Is that what you want?
So this is what you're talking about for the green space? No?
The existing green space. We have 2 historic buildings there. The Children's Schoolhouse Museum is on the National Register and has recently been put upon the city's local register of historic buildings. I would like very much to save the green space that's next to those 2 historic buildings and have that be more pronounced by being surrounded by the green space. It is much more compatible to have green space surrounding it than to have a giant concrete building looking down upon the playground. So I would just like to see us save. We've already got a bathroom there. We've already got water there. We've already got things are already in place that can be utilized to expand Kids Kingdom. So that's my 2 cents.
Good points. Do you want to click to the end? We had a few more, since we've talked about art and repurposing and memorializing. That was the word I couldn't think of earlier. It does seem like there is some consensus about the pieces that want to be remained, and we wanted to share a few ideas of how other projects have incorporated art, whether it's interactive art for kids to play on or just art for art's sake, that it's beautiful and it evokes an emotion. So these could be the pickets with the names on them that could be incorporated in that kind of way, whether it's a vertical or a horizontal element or protected in some way under shade. Benches can be artwork as well, or even a bronze plaque. I know we talked about that piece that's up that memorializes the names of those that put their heart and soul into it. Its current condition, could be upgraded or replicated like that. Even that the leaves on the brick wall there, that could also be a nameplate too. So there's lots of options. And I know when it gets into the design phase, thinking not just as literal, let's save this piece, there's other ways to do it, again, on the ground, in the air above, or incorporating the new and the future users as well in the group. So I just wanted to touch on those ideas. Are there some more comments, or does that evoke some emotions too for comment for the record? Wayne, are you doing great with the note-taking? Okay, that's good, because I know that we tasked Laura with a summarizing at the end, and we're almost there. I think we have one more slide to talk about.
So this is the park on the west side of the high school where the existing large tree is. So we just want to talk about maybe, I know some of you talked about a splash pad, and we were thinking maybe we have the playground behind the Children's Museum, maybe a splash pad goes in this area, or maybe there's some other elements that you'd like to see in a park in a big open green space. Movies, a place to have movies in the park, definitely seating for picnics. Shade structures, I know that you guys brought up some shade structure ideas earlier, sail structures. There's also interactive art, and that's another thing that we talked about. And there's lots of ways that we can do that in this other park. And here's some other interactive art pieces.
And I believe you mentioned that about having the lighting, the fountains, and the water pieces too, so that it's not just a day use, but something into the evening that's attractive and safe for all users.
There's one other.
So I just wanted to hit those images too to see if it evoked any other comments. Yes, ma'am.
Oh boy, you got my dander up.
Dander. Make sure the recording's still going.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. Several of us have come up with several very good ideas, none of which this would be on it. We know that the historic high school is looking to become an event center, and the hotel that's proposed to go in where the city hall is going, wow, we need an event space. We would love to make it beautiful for weddings, take the trees that exist, light the heck out of them with warm white LEDs that are appropriate according to the AMA. There's plenty of pictures online. Barb can supply you with plenty of pictures if you want any. Having, some kind of French doors coming out of the high school, some kind of patio area, a nice little walkway made out of a unique type of stone or pavement so that we can rent this place out and make some money. The high school needs to be a useful building that brings money in, and having an event space is appropriate. The water park needs to go right over by Kids Kingdom in that general area. We don't need to separate it out. We need something more elegant, something more upscale, posh, pick your word, that will allow us to attract investors and allow us to bring money in on a regular basis. I personally have been bringing up the solar trees like FP&L uses. I'm the proponent of let's have a grove of solar trees out there, so that they can charge up your cell phones or your computers while you're having lunch out there under the benches under the tree, and then in the evenings have light that's available, and of course change it to match the colors for whatever event is going on in the city. What else? We have been looking at pictures of City of Light festivals around the world. London is bringing theirs back. Helsinki has one. Ecuador, is it Quito in Ecuador? There's a couple big ones. and they have big, huge light festivals that would be appropriate to do lights out on that side, especially if you're doing events that would also attract people from Boynton Beach Boulevard and Seacrest when they're coming in, to get them to come to this part. We also found a beautiful, or Barb found it, a statue that shifts, and the pieces are broken into almost like a vertical puzzle, and it spins around on an axis throughout the day, and then it comes together every once in a while, and you can shine lights on it. And I was thinking, why not do our city logo for something like that? I forget what that bad boy was called. It was really cool. I sent pictures out to a bunch of people, but there's a face that moves around in some city, and it's just the way coolest thing. And why aren't we doing that with our city logo, which addresses the ocean theme because it's a sailfish, but yet would be smaller and more affordable, and yet attract all the attention from Boynton Beach Boulevard and Seacrest to get people to come over. This is not what we're looking for. I know the vice mayor had found this way cool paint that when it rains, you can see the paint. When it's dry, you can't. So like at the intersections, putting our city logo at each of the intersections down Ocean, maybe doing something on some of the buildings to make it more attractive. We could even do that on the Kids Kingdom. So when it rains, you see a picture there that you don't see the rest of the time. And it's this new paint he had seen that, and yes, they featured it in the Super Bowl. So you saw it in one of the first Super Bowl commercials. But I'll let Barb probably take over from here because I think she's jumping at the bit. And there we go. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
That's great. I love the new technologies they have to make it interesting. Again, every time you come is a different experience. It's great.
Yeah, as far as the west side of the old high school, we'd like very much to see a restaurant in the ground floor of the old high school. And that would, that area west of the high school could become a garden place to, outdoor eating. And the fence, as far as, fencing in the whole area so that it can be a garden wedding setting. I had a couple of ideas. One of the ideas is the chalkboards that we have upstairs in the old high school. We can reutilize those chalkboards on that fence so that when you have weddings and stuff, people can write on there, "Good luck, Bob and Sue," or Sue was here. So that's one idea of recycling and reutilizing, because those chalkboards are actually slate. They're the real McCoy, and I would like to see them reutilized in some manner. The other idea was, if you don't like that idea, we could maybe hire another mosaic artist and do mosaic on that wall and make that be a beautiful setting that people are going to be willing to come and rent. Put trees and lights in the tree, and you can just see how beautiful it would be for someone to get married underneath in that setting. So no, please, can we leave the playground, in that vicinity, and if we have to expand it, we'll expand it into the green space. Thanks. So, I guess, did I get everything?
Yeah. Check your list. I always have a list. Thank you for your input. I'm always surprised when people want to have weddings outdoor, because it's lovely, and it also connects the families. It's hot. I get hot all the time, but it's such a good memory for that space, and people love to see it. We were vacationing at the beach, and here comes the bride, and my daughter saw it, and it really is. That's a wonderful use for a public space as well. Are there some other comments? Anyone in the back? Oh, is anyone falling asleep? I don't want my meeting to fall asleep. Would you like to summarize for us? And I want to thank everyone, but maybe you have a good handle on summarizing.
I don't really have a summary. A lot of this information will be on the Boynton Beach website. If everyone would please remember and go to the city's Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and be sure and follow us. Also, we have a hashtag. It's hashtag Town Square Boynton Beach. Hashtag Town Square Boynton Beach. If you would use that when you do follow the social media, we'd very much appreciate it. You can go on the website and get more information. And also, there are some comment sheets back there if there's something you want to write down and leave. We will be here afterwards if you'd like to speak with everyone one-on-one if you have any other concerns. And don't forget, we have 2 more public meetings coming up the next 2 Thursdays. The 17th we'll be discussing architectural styles, and the 24th we'll be discussing open spaces. There's some literature in the back that you can take with you as a reminder. There's signs around town. And then we have a fantastic community job fair, Tuesday, August 22nd. That will be all day. We have 2 separate sessions. There's some information in the back about that. Please take that, share it with anyone you think might be interested. It's very much a community effort. We're hiring local. We want community involvement, and we really appreciate everyone's input. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to seeing you at the future meetings. Thank you.